Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be taking a first look at Gold Mythic William, who is going to be the Mythic Trials reward for the Kingdom Allegiance. If you have 5 characters of the Kingdom Allegiance at grade 4, you'll be able to get 1 of William, and for every single grade above that you have all of the Kingdom characters, you'll be able to get an extra William on top, up to limit break 2. Do remember though, because this is the first time the Kingdom Mythic Trial has come around, if you get the grade 5 version of William here, it will be the first edition version. The art that I'm showing right now is the non-first edition version. And this version here is the first edition version. As you can see, he has got a bit more armor, and on the left hand side he is riding a horse. He is riding a horse indeed. And also, if you do put this character as your avatar, it will have the first edition logo across the top of it, just like the other first edition characters. I'm going to continue the preview from the first edition, and as we've seen the visuals of both, we're going to move on to the stats as a grade 5 limit break 2 level 680 character. He has got 16,595 attack, 14,224 defense, and 16,595 HP. He is a strong character. He is considered a support character, mythic character of course, and as you probably have noticed with some of the other Mythic Trial characters, he is now a member of the actual Allegiance. He is a Mythic Trial 4 rather than there being a special Mythic Trial Allegiance. And as you can see, he is a part of the Kingdom. Now I'll start things off with the Adrenaline Rush, and it is called Guerrilla Warfare. It is a 55 AP cost rush. Make a critical attack against a line of enemies for 100% damage, while battling on the defense team. Up to 2 teammates recover from all penalties. So this is actually pretty interesting because we have had this happen in the past where you can make a guaranteed critical hit, but this is a guaranteed critical hit against multiple enemies. This is actually pretty interesting, like I say. And while battling on the defense team, there is going to be a boost of a full cleanse. We don't have too many cleanses for defense team characters, and being 55 AP, that does mean of course that he will be able to get this up without having to have AP on attack on his weapon, as long as his signature move goes off within the first 2 turns. Just kind of the natural rotation of things. Now the damage is a little bit low, but I don't really see this guy as meaning to be a damage dealer. The reason why he will be doing a critical attack over, let's say, maim or burn or bleed in terms of doing damage is other parts of his kit, be it his passives or be it potentially his specialist skill, which we will get onto later. So it might not look like a lot of damage, but it's going to actually proc other things to actually happen as well. Okay, so I have got the Adrenaline Rush up of William here, and I am going to use it against the bottom line. I'm going to focus on Garrett, and then we're going to see how it works. It doesn't do a crit to a line, it actually does 2 separate attacks. Now I have a weapon in his hands that gives him 45% attack when attacking enemies of over 50% HP. You will see the green text of that buff appear above his head if on hit effects actually work with this rush. So let's see if it actually does. The first one will come in, and it does say 45% attack, 45% attack. This does mean things like stun on attack should work, or any other future on-hit effects with strong weapons. And you can use this guy on attack or defense, it's up to you, but it mainly seems like he's geared towards being a defensive character. Now, because he can do on-hit effects on his weapon, if he has some control somewhere else within his passives, let's say like other characters do, where he could potentially, confuse an enemy or impair an enemy based on his passives, let's say, we'll check out in a minute, he could use a stun on attack weapon and rely on the passive for the control and being, not a non-window. That could actually be pretty interesting. Now, I will go ahead and say this is one of the most underwhelming upgrades I've ever seen on an Adrenaline Rush. Grade 5, AP cost reduced to 55. Literally nothing else. This has to be a boost to the Adrenaline Rush once it gets to limit break 3. It wouldn't make any sense otherwise. I've never seen a rush this just basic upgraded. It's crazy. But it being reduced to 55 is very important, and grade 5 limit break 1 sort of areas where I see, you know, characters being kind of usable. On a defense team, you need as much stats as possible, and being able to hold a stat weapon, HP and defense, rather than having to decide between the two and go for AP on attack to get that rush off quickly is very beneficial. Now, if I did have any effects on my teammates that needed to be cleansed, let's say bleed, burn, or any other effects, they would have been fully cleansed, and this includes things like crosshairs and basically any of the nasty ones. You know, the nasty ones, the ones that you don't want to actually happen. It also does cleanse things like maim, and this is something that I am seeing making its way a bit more into the Mythic era. Next up, we will check out William's signature move, and it is called Primal Strike. It has got an initial cooldown of turn 1, cooldown of 1 turn, number of uses unlimited. Make a critical attack against an enemy for 100% damage. Up to 3 enemies get daze for 2 turns. This is going to be great on an attack team or a defense team. This guy could work on either by the looks of things, because this is heavy control. It's going to be good for challenge run. It's going to be potentially good for conquest, because there are going to be nasty characters. You know, if you come up against those alert stages on conquest where it's got Carol, it's also got Mirabelle or Laurie, you could potentially daze all 3, and there are going to be no first turn signature moves there. That's going to be pretty important. So I like this quite a lot, and again, it's a very basic crit on this, 100% damage, but it isn't about the damage, it's about the crit. Okay, so the defense team I've put together here just has a bunch of first turn signature moves. You know how these characters work. They can do a very, very powerful signature move off of turn 1 if they are on those defense teams on challenge run and conquest, and there's a few of these characters. It can be very frustrating, so it's pretty straightforward. I can decide which character I want to try and do the crit attack against. I'm going to get a guaranteed crit. Stuff's going to happen to my team, but also we're going to get 3 dazes in against the enemy. This is going to be very important. And on a defense team, he'll do the same. The only difference between him being on attack and defense is these first turn signature moves will actually get off. It will block second turn signature moves. Things like Bleed Michonne's signature move, things like Sandy's signature move, and these characters might get used against teams that William is actually in. Now, if we check out the upgrades on this signature move, it's a bit different. I don't think there's going to be any sort of adjustments to this signature move. It's very powerful for what it does. It's got a lot of control. Considering he's not a control character, this is very powerful, of course. And again, because it's a crit on that signature move, he could potentially stun the target as well for full control in those situations. Now, at grade 2, it gets -1 cooldown, so it goes from 3 turns to 2 turns. At grade 3, it gets -2 to starting cooldown, so it goes to 3 turn starting cooldown to a 1 turn starting cooldown. And at grade 4, it gets +1 daze target, so it goes from 1 to 2 enemies. At limit break 1, it goes to -1 cooldown, so it goes from 2 turns to 1 turn cooldown. And lastly, we have limit break 2, where it gets another daze target. And this is actually quite powerful, you know, 3 over 2. The 2 is pretty straightforward to get, but if you do go all out for someone like William, you are going to get the big benefit of how many characters get dazed, and that honestly can make the difference. You are going to get the bonuses when it comes to stats on top as well, but the extra daze target is going to be a nice little bonus. None of these require military supplies to upgrade either, so it will just be, as long as you upgrade them to that tier, you automatically get these unlocked. Next up is William's Mythic Abilities, and these are his passive skills, of course. I like the imagery for his Mythic Abilities. You can see it's like a bulletproof vest or stab vest, but it's got a picture of Shiva on it. I like it quite a lot. If we look at the passives he's of course got Cunning, because he is a support character. That means that weapon procs are going to be, you know, less likely to actually occur, stun on attack, this sort of thing. It's actually pretty good. Cunning is very powerful. Animal Energy, when battling on a defense team, all teammates at the start of each turn get 30% of their max AP. This is honestly really, really crazy powerful, because it's every single teammate in the game. It doesn't matter what trait they are, it doesn't matter what allegiance they are, and it's every turn, not the first wave, like one of those AP on the first, you know, 8% weapons. This is, you know, over 3 times as powerful than an 8% weapon, but it happens every single turn. This is crazy. There's going to be AP gain like mad. When we scroll down, you can see Ezekiel's successor. At the start of each turn, up to 2 teammates heal for 30% of their max HP. Really powerful. It's very much like Jesse Anderson's, where she heals herself. It's like Skins. I think he also has it where he heals himself. But obviously William can heal 2 people. I'm not sure if that will heal him as well. So what I'll do is I'll try and do some damage to him in the test and see if it actually heals him, not just other people. Next up, we have Leader of the Kingdom. All teammates get 80% bleed and burn reduction. This is just flat, and this should stack with Tara's lead skill to make it 100% reduction if you so wish for fast and tough characters. Obviously, William won't get the bonus with that lead skill. You could say that sacrificing potentially a little bit of stats to have William on that team for a couple of characters to have 100% reduction is actually worthwhile. Okay, so this time around, I'm going to attack William on a defense team. So he's not going to be on my team, I'm going to be attacking him on the defense team because a lot of the things that he has are while battling on the defense team. Now, if I actually do an attack against him, we want to see if he heals. This is something that we need to know. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a basic attack against the man up the top. And if he heals, Davey heals in this situation, that is going to be a problem. Now, watch their AP, guys. Watch the AP. Some of these guys will do signature moves. Some of them will do basic attacks. How many of these guys are going to get their rushes naturally for turn 2? Let's have a little see. Signature moves are going to come out. You're seeing a lot of high AP numbers now. But I think Romanov and Marcus will get their rushes because they both got taunts. So the entire team have got their rushes up for turn 2. Very powerful, of course. We did see a bit of bonus HP coming in as well because Davey did get that 30% heal, as did our man down the bottom. William did get healed up by his own passive. So yeah, sustain, AP gain, very powerful indeed. So a lot going on with his passives. A lot of his power is within these passives as well. Very powerful. The AP gain is going to be crazy. This guy can bring a lot to the table, and he can go on any team. He doesn't have to get leader skill. He can just be, you know, a sneaky character on any team, and the AP gain is going to happen every single time. And also the heal as well. You know, depending on the characters that are involved on those teams, yeah, that can be a problem for sure. Now, if we look at the upgrades, you can see at grade 1, he gets the first half of Animal Energy. And this is the max AP gain, 15% of it here. At grade 2, he gets the first half of Cunning. At grade 3, he gets Ezekiel's successor, and this is the 2 teammates getting healed for 30% of their max HP. Now, this is all of Ezekiel's successor so far. We also get Leader of the Kingdom Part 1 at grade 4, Leader of the Kingdom Part 2 at grade 5. So by grade 5, he's extremely powerful. So if you even just get your hands on that first edition, he's going to have the big bleeding burn reduction. I didn't actually show that, but I guess you guys know how it works with Tara. It's going to be very, very similar. It's actually just slightly more powerful than Tara's. Now at grade Limit Break 1, he does get the second half of Cunning. And strangely enough, he does get the second half of Animal Energy at Limit Break 2. Normally, the first one, he'll get the second half of within the first 5 upgrades. But it is probably the most powerful part of the kit. And you're going to get the second half of that in terms of like the second 15% at Limit Break 2. So you will have to go all out to be able to get the full power here. And that's honestly probably his most powerful passive. He's definitely the thing that stands out on his passives versus other characters out there. Now, William, of course, does have a specialist skill, and this is where all those crit attacks are going to be very useful. He is a combat medic. When this character performs a critical attack, all teammates get 25% of this character's attack as bonus HP. Bonus HP is applied before reflect damage. This is actually obviously really, really interesting because he's not doing that much damage with those crits, but he's going to be dishing out a lot of bonus HP. Now, he's not going to have huge attack stat on a defense team, generally speaking, but this is going to happen pretty much with everything he does. His signature move resets very often. It's not a 0-turn cooldown, but it does reset very often, and his rush obviously does 2 of these attacks. Now, I'm not 100% certain if he's going to be doing 2 procs of this with his rush. I didn't notice, So we'll just quickly test that out. Okay, so keep an eye on the blue HPs that actually proc. It should do either 1 or 2 separate, or it might do 1 big number. We can just double check his attack later on if it's hard to know. But we'll do 1 attack. It does 9,000. And then it does a second one for the second half, but it would be 9,000 both times. And that means that each crit on the rush procs his specialist skill. And obviously look at the bonus HP of my character. It is obviously based on his attack stat and obviously your teammates HP number. On a defense team, it's not going to be 100% HP that quickly, I don't think. But depending on the buffs that were floating around on the defense team, he could have like a 40-50% attack buff at some point. He's going to get a big boost to the amount of bonus HP he's going to give to people. And because it's guaranteed crits, you don't have to put crit on his weapon, you don't have to put crit in his mods. You can still make him very tanky and just rely on the fact that it's a guaranteed crit to get those crits. Now lastly is his attached weapon, and he does not have one. However, you might just be able to notice the weapon he has in his hands in the art on the left hand side. I believe that's Ezekiel's cane. That's the one from the 5-star version of the character. If you remember the guy who had the cane, it looks really cool. It does look really cool, but it isn't here. So we potentially could get that as a separate weapon down the line. This doesn't mean you can just put whatever weapon you want in his hands, be it a special weapon you've crafted, but it does look like because he's not got anything on his passives to control characters that attack him, he will be required to have a non-window in there if you don't want people gaining free AP. Obviously it's up to you, but it isn't that big a deal that he can do stun on attack on his signature move. Most characters could. It is just kind of nice on his rush. But is it worth just giving up free AP? I don't think so. So definitely make that third slot a non-window, in my opinion. So this was Gold Mythic William, and he is the Kingdom Allegiance Mythic Trial character, and this is the first edition version. If you want the first edition version, you need to be able to get 2 of every single Kingdom character that exists. That is Zachary, Cliff, Ezekiel, Shiva, and Marcus. That would get you the visuals that you see on your screen. Otherwise, you would get the non-first edition version once it comes back around. You can only get the first edition version the very first time. But when it comes to William as a character, do leave me your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. I want to thank you very much for tuning into my video. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.